triggers are the worst. Everyone's had that experience that life's going great, you're feeling pretty good and relaxed, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, you get a message or someone says something to you or something happens that whoosh, brings up all that survival energy. You feel, lost in this intense rage or this spiral of anxiety. Suddenly you feel like you're not okay, that things just aren't okay and perhaps won't be okay in some really fundamental way. And that can last for days at a time. It doesn't matter what's going on in your life. If you're triggered, you're not happy, and we want to do something about it as soon as possible. And in this video, I want to help people understand what's going on more deeply and give you some principles for how you can make yourself less susceptible to triggers over time, and so they don't last as long. Because normally what people try to do is they try to regulate the trigger, they try to calm down, come out of it by reasoning with themselves. There's no reason I should feel this way, everything's fine logically. But your nervous system doesn't care about logic, does it? Or we might try to change and manipulate the other person. We might, if someone's triggered us by insulting us, we might try and argue with them or reason with them, to try and diffuse the trigger. If I can change how they are, then I'll change how I am. Or maybe we try to change ourselves. Our boss has critiqued our work and said it's not very good. And that's brought up all this fear that we're going to get fired. And suddenly we find ourselves trying to be really perfectionist and working overtime because it's like, well, if I just change myself, then I'll be okay. Because then the next piece of work will be great. And then that will diffuse the trigger if I get that praise or whatever it is that I'm looking for. But let me give you a story of a trigger that happened to me a couple of weeks ago to help elucidate this, because those strategies I just mentioned, they can help to calm you down, but they don't do anything about the root of the trigger. All they do is remove the trigger. They just remove the thorn from the flesh, right? But the next time you move, there's just going to be another thorn there. That same trigger still lurking within you, waiting to come up to the surface. And I'll talk a bit about that as well, but let me give you the story first. A couple of weeks ago, I got a letter from the council where I live saying that someone had essentially dobbed me in for a window in my flat that is not doesn't have the right planning permission. I live in a place that has very specific rules for how the buildings have to be. And in an act of pettiness, someone who lives in my building flagged it just to create a problem. And I thought that this was going to cost me thousands of pounds because it's a very special, it's a very, very unique window design you have to replace it with. It turns out it's covered by insurance, but I didn't know that. I didn't find this out for like a week or two. And whoosh, there was all this, so triggered because not only was I feel like I was being attacked by someone, but it was also going to cost me thousands of pounds, potentially. And there's the sort of the immediate sense. I tried to go regularly by telling everyone who would listen. I tried to get reassurance from people. I reached out to people and just, can you believe this happened? And, that helps a bit, but there's nothing another person can say that will really diffuse the situation until I managed to turn towards and really allow that energy that wanted to come up. Because there was actually all this rage underneath that I was sort of not really allowing, because we're so conditioned not to allow rage. And that's what makes triggers feel so awful, because there's this huge survival energy coming up going, I'm not safe, I need to get safe. But we're so conditioned to hold it in and just be reasonable or be nice or whatever it is, that we end up feeling torn in two. That's what contributes to it. Triggers feeling so horrible is that there's this huge energy coming up, and there's like your body tenses, the muscles physiologically tense, and you disconnect from the body to keep it all in. And then you jump into your head, your attention goes there, away from the body, and you try and manage and fix up here. And it just feels awful because we're resisting what's going on. And so I got on my bed and just said, I'm just going to lie here and investigate what's really going on. And just letting myself feel with radical honesty what's actually going on. And that's radical honesty is one of the keys I'll come to and I'll reprise in a moment. But it was on that bed, I could feel the rage and anger starting to come up towards this person. I knew who it was. And I would never suggest you act out any of the aggression or rage you feel on the person itself. But it was very important to be radically honest about what this part of me wanted to say and do. It wanted to say, fuck you, and it wanted to punch. And so I was on the bed just punching the bed, not losing my mind. I was kind of doing it in slow motion, or sometimes pressing, to just sometimes letting my body tense, just feeling into what it wanted to do. Sometimes just the muscles wanted to tense, sometimes it wanted to more push or punch, and sometimes some growls, sometimes it wanted to be silent. And just really allowing that and letting in my mind, letting the movie play of what I wanted to do to this individual, or rather what this part of me at the very least wanted to do. And then between that, there would be these tears of helplessness, of feeling like there's nothing I can do, because there was nothing I could do, at least that's what it felt like at the time, that I was just helpless, and that people were taking like £5,000 just away from me, just going up in smoke like that, and there's nothing I can do. It's like, just pure helplessness. And getting radically honest and just allowing that, letting myself simmer and sink into the helplessness and just cry. And this happened 2 nights in a row, and there were little bursts of it here and there elsewhere as well. So I sort of worked one wave of it, one night, and then the next night I repeated the same thing. I sort of put on some music that I know evokes that kind of thing in me. But what that did was it made me feel much calmer. When I thought about this same individual, a couple of days later, it didn't evoke anywhere near the same intensity of reaction. And not only that, I actually felt better than I had done before, because it had ripped out of me, this whole process, some deep sense of unsafety. There was some deep unsafety wound, helplessness wound within me that this experience brought out and allowed me to process. And so that's sort of the gift or the opportunity that triggers bring. Because now that part of me, that unsafety, I don't have to live with that piece of unsafety for the rest of my life. For the rest of my life, I will feel more safe and secure in my body and in my home. Because it's all about what's on the inside, not really whether there's some person in your building who's being a dick or not. Right? That's not the key. That's a factor, but it's not the key factor. And how do we do this? The key, the secret sauce is not to act, it's not to think, but to feel. So when we're acting, we're trying to defuse a situation, or we're trying to think our way, reason our way away from what we're feeling, because understandably it's really, really painful. But if you can bring enough safety to yourself, if you can develop enough capacity, we can start to move towards the root of these triggers. And I have other videos on how to feel your feelings. There's one just called How to Feel Your Feelings, which goes into more detail around those. I won't go into it here. There's a couple of principles that I want to introduce. The first one is it's never about what it seems to be about. So when we're triggered, for me, it wasn't about this guy, for example. It was about some deep sense of unsafety. It's like something's been taken away from me and I don't feel safe. I'm not going to be okay. That's kind of what it felt like. I'm not going to be okay and I need to do something about it, which was a combination of attacking and then giving up. There were elements of both of those. And I find that mainly what things are about, like 90% of the time, can go into one of 3 buckets: safety, control, and approval. And by approval, I kind of mean belonging as well. Kind of like not having ruptures in the relationships around you. To human beings, having ruptures in our relationships feels really, really threatening. So it's, unsafety. We're like physically or psychologically unsafe in some way. Like someone's going to threaten us if we are who we are. Control, which means that we don't have a sense of agency in the world, that we don't have any power, we can't make things happen, or that things are being taken away from us. And you can see this, you take a toy away from a child, it's not really about the toy, it feels like it's lost this agency, there's some threat to it, right? And then again, approval, belonging is about maintaining this cohesion in the relationships of people around us. And so almost all triggers can boil down to those, and it can be really useful to feel into yourself, feel what's actually going on, because then you can start to get to the real emotions. You realize, I feel unsafe, and suddenly you tap into all the fear, or maybe the anger that's coming up to defend you. Or if you feel like, I really want approval, I need to be like, I need to please this person. That's what the problem is here, is I feel just, if they're upset with me, that feels like I'm not okay. It's like, okay, I'm not okay is actually what's going on here. It's not that my friend, it's not per se, it's not about what your friend said or what you said to your friend, in some imaginary, to give you an imaginary example. It's about a much more core issue that's closer to home. The second part is radical honesty. So our triggers bring up stuff that's very, very primal and instinctual often. So for me, this was this real basic aggression, right? This rage that came up, as well as this sense of helplessness. These were all quite primal instincts. And we're very heavily conditioned to really repress those and instead to be reasonable or to be nice. I could easily have gone, I'm angry, but there's no reason to be angry at this person. He's got his own stresses and, I'll be okay. It's not going to help anything to get angry, but that just represses the anger even more and contributes to that sense of feeling torn in two or just trapped. Instead, we have to let these parts of us speak and feel their truth. Now, this is never to say we should never act this out on other people. I'm not suggesting to be aggressive towards others. It's to let this part of us just fully feel how it's feeling, say what it wants to say. So in my example, I was lying on the bed. I let it say what it wanted to say. I let it move how it wanted to move, and did that as honestly as I could. And that's how we can really, really get into that. And you'll find, I've had clients just the last week where clients would be sitting with a part of themselves and they found that there was a great sadness in one case and there was a lot of tension over the top of it. And then this client just went, "Oh, I don't want to be alone." That phrase came to them and then it's melted and the sadness came to the surface. It's like finding those honest words, unlocked something, unlocked that emotion, helped it to come forwards. Or another client who was experiencing chronic pain, again, was feeling very tense and things weren't really opening up. And there was just some truth. It's like, I don't want to live like this. I don't want to live like this. I can't live like this. And something about those words and that honesty, again, just opened things up. And there was this real heaviness and shame that came through into that person's body. That was then the emotion that they needed to start feeling to feel a little bit better, to have a little more space. So when we just get really true about what we believe and how we feel in a situation, that really opens things up. So let's go through a bit of an exercise to make this real for you. So I'd like to just get comfortable for a moment, and I will be asking you to invite in a mild trigger for this. So just as a bit of a warning, and this is an optional exercise, but you may find it interesting. You might be surprised by what comes up. So just get comfortable. And we want to just ground for a moment. So maybe just put your hands on your heart and feel that bit of weight, that bit of pressure. Or you could put your attention on your feet on the ground or on the sofa or bed or chair that's beneath you. Just something that feels a little solid and grounded, and just being gently with that for a moment to ground you and get you present. Now I'd like you to invite in a recent trigger. So bring to mind a moment or a person who has triggered you recently. Maybe it's a moment, you received an email or someone said something. Nothing too strong, unless you really feel ready. And just find that exact moment in your memory when that trigger hit. Find that exact moment when maybe you opened your emails and you saw those few words that said, your friend said, I'm not coming on the trip anymore, and you felt abandoned. Or your spouse said something mean. Or your boss sent you a sort of a curt email. It's always with people. And just imagine that moment. And now really let the stories play out. Let your mind run free, trying to protect you, maybe trying to reason or rationalize. or getting annoyed, the stories going, I can't believe they did that, or that's so rude. Just notice the reaction of the mind as you invite in this trigger. And now ask yourself, what is this really about? If it's not about what's on the surface, what's really going on? Do I feel unsafe? Do I feel like I don't have control, like I'm helpless? Like I don't have agency or power here? Do I feel like I might not get the right approval that I want, that I won't belong, that I won't fit, that someone will be upset with me? That I'm not part of the tribe. I'll be cast out, abandoned. Just feel into what's really going on. There might be certain words that really resonate with you, like with the example of the clients before. And now dropping down into the body, see if you can feel into the energetic resonance of those words that you found, of what this is really about. So say you said you found out, I'm afraid I'm going to be abandoned. See if you can feel the energy or emotion of that in your body somewhere. And don't worry if it's a bit tricky or you're not too sure, just do your best. You could also notice protection. Maybe there's a bit of tension instead. You don't really feel an emotion, but you feel a tension protecting something. But just being with that lack or that unmet need in your body here. So this is it's never about what it seems to be about. We found a bit closer what it's really about. Now let's get radically honest. Feel into this energy or emotion. Just ask it. If you had a voice, what would you say? What is really true for this part of you? And don't think about that to come up with an answer. Ask this energy or emotion as if you're asking a person who's standing opposite you. Just ask the energy itself and just stay open to whatever might arise. Now, whatever words you get, and if you didn't get any, that's also okay. Just do your best rolling with it. Just let those be true, or let this feeling be true. So if the words were, maybe there was a sense of abandonment, but what it said was, I hate you, and you start to feel a bit of hatred in the body, then let that be true. Let it be true that I hate you to this other person. Well, let it be true. Maybe the words come, I'm always going to be alone. Just for a moment, allowing that to be true so you can really meet that part of you. Not because it is absolutely true, it's not, I promise you, but because by letting it be true, we really meet this part of ourselves. If it feels right, you can also like to start to let it express. Maybe there's some movements that want to come. If it's something like fear or anger or hatred, maybe it wants to start to move. You can feel that the body wants to push away or the fists want to clench. Maybe some growls want to come. There's words. It wants to say, fuck you. Maybe it's shame and it wants to kind of crawl inwards and the shoulder. You want to get small. Just feeling into that, maybe some expression can help you to feel this feeling. And notice the difference of what it's like, the difference between letting the story spin in your head and how it feels to actually get into the body closer to the truth of the matter. It's a completely different experience. Now you can either stay with this, continuing to be with it, let it express and move, or if you like, you can let that go and just spend a moment coming back to the body, coming back to the resource you had at the beginning, maybe the hands on the heart or feeling your feet on the ground. Maybe having a sigh or a little sway. This is just to help re-regulate your nervous system a little bit after that little exploration. Cool. Thank you and well done. That's it for today. I do help people with this work one-on-one. You can check out my work in the links below. Good luck with your triggers, and I'll see you later. Bye.